Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Um, Phone number. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes. Hi. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
I can hear you. Yes. I assume
Great.
you're
Hi.
who is this?
This is Emily Cotton.
Emily Cotton. Okay. Because all I have now is your
I'm trying to,
change it.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No. My first name is Emily. My last name, I don't know if it's Cotton, Cotton.
Okay. I
I'm actually
recognize.
trying to download Zoom on my computer as I'm on the phone right now. So
Oh, okay.
it wasn't working. So I just figured I would dial in.
You know what? The best way to do it is just go to my link and
Right. I'm
yeah, and press on the link
joining a
and then it'll
meeting.
come in.
Okay. It's saying first that I need to download Zoom. So,
Yeah, it only takes a second.
okay.
Or it should, depending on what kind of computer you're using. You should have Zoom anyway because we use it a lot at GCU.
I've actually never used it for a course, which is, I mean, I've heard of it.
You're gonna
No,
you're gonna use
so-
it more than once in the student teaching course. So so you might want to download it. And
okay, yeah. For some reason, it's not. I'm gonna try again. I had a feeling earlier it was gonna be funky, so I was like, for now, oops, maybe diamond.
the uh, Amanda, can you hear me? No. Yeah, so you're gonna use it in your student teaching course.
Yes. Oh, got it.
Yes, you do. I see you.
Oh,
Well,
well, great.
I see your name. So let's just make sure it's working before you hang up the phone.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Then I'm gonna actually.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can still hear you.
Oh, great.
Oh, there you are. Hi. What? What? Sorry, it's my cat.
That's okay.
All of a sudden, he decided it was time for, he was running out of pets. He was running out of pets. Yes, I know. I know. You're very interested in the wires coming out of my computer. So where are you located, Emily?
So I am in New York,
Okay, where?
in Manhattan. And so I just switched schools. I've actually been teaching as an associate slash assistant, I guess, depending on the school, they use it interchangeably, for about 4 years. But I am in Manhattan. I work at a special ed school called West End Day School on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and just finished camp last week. So, yeah, while doing grad school and looking forward to being done with it all. Just busy work.
West End, where in the West, do you live up in the West End?
No, I live in Midtown in Manhattan, but the school is on the Upper West Side.
Oh, okay. Because I know the Upper West Side pretty well.
Yeah, it's very nice over there. Really pretty.
Yeah, I went to college up there. So.
Oh, nice. Where did you go to school?
Columbia.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a great teaching program.
I did not go to the teaching program, believe it or not.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. Well, I assume because we are.
Yes, well, I switched course in my career. This is my second career, maybe my third career.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, no, I went for religious studies. That's what I majored in. But I did like living in the city.
Yeah, the city is nice. It's just hot.
Yeah. So, Amanda? Jasmine, can I hear you yet? Oh, wait a minute. Amanda?
Yes, I can finally hear you now that I use the dial-in option.
Oh, okay. Very good. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened. And Jasmine is here also. I just want to make sure she can hear.
I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Jasmine. Very good. Okay. Well, first of all, welcome to the PAST course. This is the first of 5 meetings that we're going to be holding. It's a little bit intensive, but that's okay. I am Dr. Sid Weinberg, and aside from doing the PAST course, I'm also a faculty member in the College of Education. Online, I only teach online. Somebody had written, I think maybe it was Jasmine, did you write to me about time zones?
That's me from Emily. I'm raising my.
Oh.
Yeah, I was confused because I wasn't sure if.
It is a natural confusion, but I am not in Arizona. I grew up in New Jersey, went to school in New York, and then I lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, home of the Packers, for 30 years. And now I have moved to Detroit to be near my son, one of my sons, and and my grandchildren. So I'm at that stage of my life. I have 5 grandchildren, which is sort of unbelievable for me. Okay, in any case, and yes, they are all brilliant. And we have 1 girl. I had all brothers. My sons are all men. So this is the first girl born to us in at least 2 generations. And so her name is the Princess. Okay. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about an overview of EdTPA. and some of the requirements that you're going to have, and I will leave you some time for questions. Some of these sessions, tonight's session will probably be about an hour because it's the introductory session. The rest will run from half an hour to an hour. There are no sessions on the weekends. We will have one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week, and that will bring us to the end of PAST. Normally, I would do this session on Tuesday night, but I was finishing up last week's sessions. Normally, we leave 2 weeks for each PAST, but I'm doing 2 of them together at the moment. So, Emily, I know about you. Amanda, where are you?
I am in Portland, New York.
Okay. And where is that near?
It's about 30 minutes south of Syracuse, New York. So it's central
Okay.
New York.
So a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And Jasmine, where are you?
I'm in Georgia, Conyers, Georgia.
Conyers, Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. What county is that in?
Rockdale County.
Okay.
But I'll be teaching I'll do student teaching in DeKalb County, which is like
Okay.
really close to Atlanta.
I don't know anything about Georgia. I've been to Atlanta only once. So I'll take your word for it. And are you all special ed?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Are
Yeah.
any of you dual degree?
No.
I'm not.
Okay. Because there are some people who are doing elementary and special ed, and they can choose to take whichever ed TPA they wish. But we recommend the special ed TPA because it is a little bit less restrictive than the elementary one. Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about, and please hold your questions until we get through some of the material, and then I'll give you a chance to ask. Tonight we're going to talk about the certification rules. What is this all about? EdTPA as a professional knowledge assessment. What are its components? What resources are available to you? How to develop a plan of action, and acknowledgement. Oh, we lost Jasmine. A copy of this is being recorded, by the way, and a copy will be available in the PAST course room under Zoom recorded meetings. And that will be available tomorrow morning. It'll be a YouTube video coming from I have a YouTube channel. It's just easier to take the Zoom meetings and put them on YouTube and give you a link to it. Okay. As you know, you need to pass EdTPA. Now, when you decide that you want to complain about this, please go directly to your state legislature. They're the ones who made the rules, not GCU. EdTPA is a student-centered, multiple measure assessment of teaching. This is very important. EdTPA wants to know, has your student learned? They're not interested in how have you taught. In other words, EdTPA is not going to grade you on things like classroom management. They're not looking for how you discipline your class, or do you make them raise their hands, or any of that kind of stuff. What they're looking for is, has the student mastered the learning goal and the objectives? Through completion of EdTPA, teacher candidates will demonstrate knowledge of pedagogy with video and written reflections to provide evidence for student learning. Teacher candidates must complete EdTPA while in their student teaching placement. Teacher candidates will use national standards, and they will be scored through a national website. So during your student teaching class, you will be delivering pieces of your EdTPA to your instructor. The instructor, however, is not the person who's going to score your EdTPA. You will get points simply for submitting it on time. The scoring will be done after you finish your student teaching and you turn in your portfolio to the EdTPA website. What is EdTPA? A student-centered, multiple measure assessment of teaching. Who completes EdTPA? Candidates applying for initial certification in New York and Georgia and Wisconsin, and will be required to take and pass the EdTPA. Why do I complete EdTPA? In addition to being a state requirement for certification, teacher candidates will demonstrate knowledge of pedagogy with video and written reflections to provide evidence for student learning. When do I complete EdTPA? Teacher candidates must complete EdTPA while in their student teaching placement. How do I complete EdTPA? Teacher candidates will use national standards and they will be scored through a national website. The assessments. Now, understand that this is not a test like the kinds of things you have already had to take or are taking. For example, it is not like Praxis. It is not a you go in, use the computer, take your test, and go home and get your score. It is the creation of a portfolio that has 3 distinct tasks, which will include written work, video, and assessments that you have done with your student. So, the EdTPA shifts the definition of effective teaching from successfully delivering the curriculum to having a positive impact on student learning. From we got through the material to how have I affected student learning? This is important, and it's going to be something that I hope you take with you into student teaching. And that is, we do not teach curriculum. We teach students. The focus needs to be on the students, not necessarily on the curriculum. In your student teaching course, you're going to be asked questions that you need to think about. For example, is it better to get through a lot of material or to go through some material deeply at the expense of getting through everything? It's a question, a balance you're going to have to make, not only for your EdTPA, but throughout your teaching career. So EdTPA is about student learning and providing evidence that your student has learned. Okay. I see another phone number has joined us. Who are you?
Hello, hey, good evening. This is Peter Orpheum.
Hi, Peter. Nice to have you here. You're from Georgia.
That is correct.
Yep. I know the area codes by now.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you with us. I did just want to finish one thing, and that is I had mentioned this and then we got off on something. I am not in Arizona. I am in Michigan. I'm on Eastern Time. Do not call me on Arizona time. You may call me if you have a question. But one student thought I was in Arizona a year or so ago and called me at 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't do this. Please. Anyway, onward and upward. So, EdTPA asks candidates to complete a portfolio. It's going to feature a learning segment. Now, one of the things that EdTPA does is it has new words for stuff that has other names that we already use. A learning segment is a lesson unit, a unit lesson plan, okay? So you're going to have to create a learning segment with 3 to 5 lesson plans. It's supposed to equal about a week's worth of learning. Now, this is broken down, the EdTPA, into 3 tasks: planning, your instruction and your assessments; 2, instructing and engaging students in learning; and 3, assessing student learning. You will need to pay attention to academic language and analyzing your planning and teaching throughout. We will have later Zoom meetings specifically on academic language and on task 3, which is analyzing and assessing. Excuse me. Documented with evidence. The evidence is going to include candidate commentaries, which you will use, which you will find a template for, instructional artifacts, including student work, and 1 to 2 unedited video clips of teacher-student interaction. The commentaries you will find with your handbook on the PLN. There are 4 of them. The first one is Context for Learning, which goes in the planning commentary. It's basically just a demographic document. Who is your student? What are they going to be studying? What are the IEP goals and things like that? The second is the planning commentary itself. The third is instruction commentary. And the fourth is assessing student learning. So the first task has 2 commentaries. And then the other 2 tasks each have 1 commentary. You are to fill in the template. So they will ask you questions that you need to answer. You do not have to try and organize all of these factors on your own. They will tell you what they're looking for in very long-winded language. Video, we're going to have an entire session about doing the videos. All I will tell you is that you are only permitted 20 minutes of video. You may use 1 10-minute or 2 10-minute clips or 1 20-minute clip. You may not edit within the video. So it can't be like a bloopers reel or something. You can't retake the shot and have your students say it again. Okay? You are not making a movie. Artifacts. The artifacts you submit will be judged on 5 components of teaching practice: planning, instruction, assessment, analyzing teaching, and academic language. Artifacts are anything that you are turning in. Your lesson plans, your student work, the assessments you used, etc. You will provide evidence for the analyzing teaching component across all the tasks. And you'll notice that there is a task 4 for elementary mathematics. You don't need to worry about that. That is only for elementary teacher candidates and not for special ed. So you will not have that 4th task. Subject-specific handbooks. You'll notice on the PLN, if you go to the EdTPA group, you will see on the left side 2 big blue blobs or purple blobs. One is a circle, I think the other one is a square. One of them says EdTPA materials. That's where you will find your handbook. You will see it under special education. Make sure that you download the latest handbook, and you will also see under special education templates. You can go ahead and you can get your handbook and get your templates and create a file for them on your computer. You're going to need them. It never hurts to start looking at them. I had someone ask me last week, can I start playing around with them? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what you put in them at this point may not be what you turn into your instructor. And in all probability, it will not be what you turn into EdTPA. But if you want to try your hand at parsing the questions, deconstructing them so that you know what to write, checking them with the rubrics in the back of the handbook, I would encourage you to go ahead and do that, especially since court classes have not started yet. Oh, goodness. I don't know what that was, but okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. I thought it was me. Okay. Planning for instruction and assessment. So task 1. Here are the things that you will need in general to remember. Every handbook is a little bit different in its requirements based on the level and the subject area. So, you know, teaching elementary, it's going to focus on literacy and math. In special ed and secondary, you can focus on any of the academic subjects. In secondary, you can focus on things that are not necessarily considered to be core subjects, like music or dance or things like that, depending on what people are going to be teaching. For special education, your lessons may be on English, science, math, or social studies. So you can create lessons in an area that you are comfortable with. Okay, select a class and complete the template, Context for Learning Information. Template to complete documenting essential information about your students and school classroom. No more than 3 pages. This basically tells the scorer where you're working and who you're working with. It'll request information about your focus student, etc. In special education, you are only required to teach 1 focus student. Now, you will hear a lot of different numbers. Elementary has to have 3 to 6. Secondary has to have 6. The only handbook that has only 1 focus learner is special education. So if you hear people talking about other numbers of focus students, don't get nervous and don't be afraid. Those all change by handbook. So for your handbook, you need 1 focus student. B, prepare prior to teaching your lessons. Identify a learning segment. That's our unit. Identify a central focus. Analyze language demands. Write lesson plans. Respond to the commentary prompts. 3 to 5 consecutive lessons using a template of your choice, which incorporates all the designated components, including copies of all written assessments, 3 to 5 hours of instruction. Okay, let's talk about this for just a second. Identifying a central focus in special ed is not that hard. What do you have to help you do that?
Handbook.
If the student is in special education, then they have an
IEP.
Yeah.
IEP. Thank you. Yes. The IEP provides you with what?
Goals.
Goals and objectives.
Goals and objectives. Absolutely. So where are you going to get your goals and objectives for your student?
The IEP.
From the IEP. So in a sense, the IEP really helps you to be able to focus on what you need to do with your student. Okay? Now, I would still say that you should do a pre-assessment, because pre and post-assessment provide what?
Data.
Right, exactly. Oh, you're going to do very well, Emily. I think that's Emily who's talking.
I hope so.
You made notes? Good. Okay. It's going to provide you with evidence, with data. And so the more evidence you have, the better you're going to do on EdTPA. Okay. So, instructional materials, no more than 5 pages per lesson plan. Now, I would very much recommend to you that you use the GCU lesson plan template, but not the new one. The new one is 7 pages long. The old one is only a page. You don't have 7 pages per lesson plan. So if you cannot get a hold of the lesson plan template, I have it, and I will put it up tomorrow in the course room, in the PLN, so that you all have it and you can use it. Now, you can use the lesson plan templates that your school uses, but understand that EdTPA requires certain categories on the lesson plan. Not all schools have those. So rather than having to go down a checklist and make sure what your school has and doesn't have, it's just easier to use the GCU template, and you're already familiar with it. I'm sure you've been using it for the last 1.5 to 2 years. Okay. Assessments. Blank copies of all written assessments. So whatever assessments you're going to do, whether they are formative or summative, if you're using exit tickets, you need to plan those out ahead of time and put blank copies in your planning commentary. If you're going to be using a test, or a rubric or whatever it is that you're going to use for assessment, you need to put a blank copy of that into your planning commentary. Now, later in the assessment commentary in task 3, you're going to turn in the filled out, completed one, along with your feedback on the assignment. So when you're thinking about your assessments, try to think about doing something that just doesn't require a lot of red ink on a worksheet, because that's not the kind of feedback that they're looking for. They are looking for what I call sandwich feedback, okay? You write something good, you discuss then the challenges, and then you give them a takeaway, something that's going to help them to overcome those challenges. And you're going to need to document that for the third task. So be prepared that, you know, even if you're doing math or something like that, giving them a worksheet, writing with red pen all over. By the way, never use red pen. Do any of you know this? No? Well, I'll tell you. This is the thing from my father, who's been an educator for 40 years. Don't use red pen. What does red symbolize to you?
Bad luck.
Huh?
Bad or wrong.
Well, bad, wrong, stop.
Yes,
right?
I was always told
Blood.
never to pull out a check in red pen.
Blood, anger, etc. It's better to use, the best color to use is green, because it symbolizes go, move forward, growth, and life. Blue is also okay, but red is not the best color. Anyway, that was a free aside from the Weinberg Teaching School. Okay. Your planning commentary, no more than 9 single-space pages. Now, that is not a requirement, okay? You don't have to have 9 pages. You just can't go over 9 pages. People say to me all the time, how many pages does it have to be? My answer is, use enough space to say in detail everything that you need to say. It's very important, because your scorer does not infer anything. If it is not written down, it doesn't exist. Okay? So you need to be detailed enough so that you say everything that you want to say, reminding yourself constantly that the scorer was not with you in the classroom, has no idea who you are, where you're from, or what kind of class you're teaching. Okay? Scorers will never see your name. Okay. Task 2, instructing and engaging students in learning, video clips and written components. Number 1, obtain permission for video recording. Now, if your school already has in the parent handbook a permission for the use of student images in media, you know, they have to have that to put the sports teams on the websites and the musicals and the, you know, all of those extracurricular activities that require them to put up public images of students. If they already have that, you do not need to have a second one done. But if they do not, or if the school, which is their right, insists that you get specific permission for EdTPA, then you will need to get permission slips for the video recordings. And we do have some examples of those in the EdTPA space on the PLN. Now, what do you do with those once you get them?
Put them in commentary?
Huh? Go ahead, Emily. What?
It wasn't me. I don't.
Oh, Amanda?
No, it was me, Jasmine.
Oh, Jasmine. What do you do with them?
I said, do we put it in the commentary section?
Okay. You know what? You don't. You put it in a drawer in your house and you lock it up and you leave it there for 3 years.
Okay.
And then you can throw them away. EdTPA does not want them. And I can guarantee you, as an instructor in the student teaching courses, I don't want them either. You need to have them to protect yourself legally, but they don't go anywhere. They just stay with you. Okay? I know, it's the same for everything. When I did my dissertation, I found them again when I moved and got rid of them after 6 years or whatever. Examine your plans for learning. Identify lessons to video record. Complete video recording. View and select clips carefully. Now, I would very, very strongly suggest that you do 2 things. First, record all of your lessons, because you never know when the student is going to have an aha moment you think will provide evidence for you. And so it's important that you record all of your lessons. You can begin practice video recording anytime. You will probably need to practice it. Now, when you view and select clips, there are a couple of ways that you can go about this. One is you can download some free software to do it. Microsoft has free video editing software. And so that will work. Or become very friendly with the IT guy at your school. Bring him baked goods, or her. They always work. And they can help you to edit the video clips, because I'm sure that they do that and they have software for it, for the things that they take. Okay. The second thing that you would turn in are instruction commentary and additional information, no more than 6 single-space pages responding to the prompts. Determine if additional information is needed to watch. When you do the I'm sorry, Jasmine, you have been muted. When you do the videotapes, you are going to, and now I don't remember what you're going to do. Okay, well, it'll come back to me. Good. Task 3, assessing students' learning. We will have an entirely separate meeting about Task 3. First, determine which assessment from your learning segment you will use. The assessment should be completed by the entire class. You can X out entire class and just say focus student. Featured in the learning segment, and should reflect the work of individuals. In other words, if you are, if you can't turn in something like a poster as an assessment, unless it's a poster that's done by a specific individual, because there's no way to determine what parts of the poster each individual student worked on. So if you are going to use other students in your video, aside from your focus student, you can do that, but the assessments need to be individual. Evaluation. Define the evaluation criteria. Analyze student work. Submit how you will evaluate student learning. Analyze student work from the assessment to identify patterns of learning in the class or in the individual. So, what did you find that might be a pattern? For example, you have a student working on math. They can do addition fine, but they have a real problem with subtraction. And you see that throughout the assessments that you do. At that point, what you're going to want to do is discuss that pattern and what you will do to correct it, to work on it. Student work sample. Select one focus student. Okay? If you're watching this recorded later, yes, I said one focus student. Document feedback to each focus student. Collect collect 3 work samples and submit feedback on the assessment for one focus student in written, audio, or video format. Again, this is holistic feedback. We will continue to talk about this throughout the next 2 weeks because it is extremely important. And the assessment commentary, respond to the prompts, include and submit the assessments, provide evidence of academic language, and you're going to want to talk about next steps as well. After analyzing student work, complete the assessment commentary. The commentary should be no more than, I think it's 6 pages also. 10 pages. Okay. Before we go into student teaching, I will take any questions that you might have at this point. Anything? Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Jasmine.
Sorry, I don't know if my feedback is bad, but so you said we only have to focus on one subject.
One subject and one student, yes.
Do you suggest like doing anything cross curriculum? Like if we're teaching a language arts course, also implementing social studies, and if we do that on our lesson plan, should we include the curriculum, like the standard for that, or should we just keep it one subject?
One subject.
Okay.
If your learning goals and your objectives do not align with your lesson plans, they will kick the thing back to you without even looking at it.
Okay.
So one subject, but let yourself be guided by the IEP as to what subject you're going to want to do. Okay?
Okay.
So be guided by the IEP and use the IEP goals to create your learning goals and your objectives. But definitely do not use cross-curricular. Now, remember, if you want to use cross-curricular later or outside of your EdTPA, you're welcome to do that as long as it's okay with your mentor teacher.
Okay.
Remember, EdTPA only represents 1 week of the weeks that you're in student teaching. And you're going to need to do things for your evaluator also from GCU. You can't use your lessons that you do for EdTPA for your evaluations. So you might want to consider that for your evaluations.
Okay.
I have a question. Is there
Yes.
a deadline for the state of New York, or, and this is something that I will find out about on the New York State website, but are the tasks like the deadlines of the tasks, or is there a deadline, or do we just, when our portfolio is done with all three, we then submit it to the state?
Okay. There is a deadline, but it's not really going to affect you. The deadline is 1 year from when you register on the EdTPA website. Now, understand that when you register, they want payment of $300. Now that is them. It has nothing to do with GCU. There are some schools that collect the money for them and give you a voucher. We do not do that. That's between you and EdTPA, okay?
Right. So task one, when I'm done, do I submit that to the state, or is there
No,
a deadline?
no, you're gonna submit everything at the end.
Okay.
Don't submit piece by piece because they won't take it that way.
Right.
Also, what you're going to do after student teaching is give yourself a couple of weeks to go over the EdTPA that you've written. Make sure it's exactly what you want to say. Take into account, grammar, spelling. Choose your clips carefully, etc. And then you're going to want to send it in. So they'll give you several dates that you can choose to send it in.
Got it.
Okay. I would not suggest sending it in right away.
No.
I would take a little, because student teaching is such a all-consuming time that you may really need that extra time after you're not in the classroom anymore to be able to go over all of these things carefully. Okay, and does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Beverly, I didn't get to welcome you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
That's good. And I see your iPad is with you also.
Yes.
All right. Student teaching. Online courses for student teaching. Teacher candidates must be enrolled in the student teaching course concurrently with student teaching. So if you were, God forbid, to lose your student teaching site, you would not be able to complete the student teaching course. They go together, okay? Any of you know when you're starting your student teaching?
September 5th.
September 5th.
I can start
Yeah,
on
September 5th.
August 26th.
Anybody starting August 22nd? Okay. I don't know I don't remember when my second course starts. I have one special ed student teaching course August, and I have one starting in September.
Is there a break between, I don't know, because I noticed that, I know the GCU online for me, like there's no breaks within each course, but I noticed that this course that I'm in now, there's a week of no class until my student teaching course starts.
I don't know. I get courses all the time. I'm usually working on several courses concurrently. So I know that there are courses running at all times. The only break that I know of that might affect you is that there is a Christmas break where you're not allowed to be online for a week. Other than that, I think it just depends on all of the scheduling, and I have nothing to do with that. ECU were very compartmentalized. So I just do my thing, and I don't know much about it. You can ask your advisor, your placement advisor about it. Okay, so the requirements for student teaching are going to be discussion forums. Now, you're used to having 2 discussion questions a week. In the student teaching course, you will only have 1 discussion question a week. Teacher work sample. You will not be doing the teacher work sample. You will be doing EdTPA instead. Now, I need you to listen carefully to me, okay? All of you, feel like Gandalf, all of you, put on your listening ears. Okay. When you get into your student teaching course, the assignments are not going to match the ones that you will be doing for the teacher work sample. So when you submit your EdTPA work, you will be submitting it in a submission box that says it is for something else. Okay? Do not be afraid. You are doing the right thing. Your EdTPA assignments will appear in a special announcement in the announcements forum. So there'll be one announcement that says, welcome to week 3. And then there'll be another announcement that says EdTPA assignments for week 3. That's where you would go to find your assignments. It's a little confusing and is counterintuitive, but that's how it is going to work. We are not able to set up a course that is only for EdTPA students. That doesn't exist. So we're going to be working through the regular course, but you will be turning in your EdTPA work. You will also be turning in, with the rest of the class, work for your GCU portfolio. That's going to include things like your classroom management plan, your resume, stuff like that you might use at an interview for a teaching job. So understand that we're talking about 2 separate kinds of assignments that you're going to find in student teaching. So any questions about that? Is everyone clear on that? Okay. You'll see what I mean when you get into student teaching, but just be prepared for it. Lesson planning, reflections, you will be doing some reflections, evaluations with your cooperating teacher and faculty supervisor. You will have in your student teaching 2 representatives working with you from GCU. Your course instructor, who might be me, or one of the other professors, and your faculty supervisor. This is the person who's going to come into your school and watch you teach. You will be evaluated 4 times during the entire semester. That person will email you the results of your evaluation, and then you would need to email it to your instructor or to submit it online to your instructor so that they can put down the points for you. Okay? More about that as you get there. And you need to document your hours. If you are in the 16-week or 15-week program, 15-week program, then you need 70 hours. And you will have to document those hours, and you should already have some information about that. The GCU's faculty supervisor and cooperating teacher will collaboratively reflect on the teacher candidate's performance and effectively produce a final score using the evaluation instruments. To complete the collaborative observation, the GCU faculty supervisor and cooperating teacher must both have a copy of the teacher candidate collaborative evaluation instrument for each evaluation. They'll get those to them. You're not responsible for that. Modified student teaching submission. So this is what you need to do. Submit weekly discussion and participation. Participate in modified submission tasks in the EdTPA space. That will be an announcement, and then you're going to submit in the regular assignment spaces. Okay? Submit modified submission deliverables to the online course assignment Dropbox. And this is no longer in use, so we'll go by it. Academic language. Okay. We are going to be doing a separate discussion of language demands and academic language. So we will skip that for now because we are coming upon an hour. And resources. You will find everything that you need on the PLN, the handbooks, the templates, videos, and things like that. And there it is. That's what the PLN looks like. I'm sure you all know it well now. And so these are some of the things that you might want to take a look at. You've done most of this, I think. So what should you do now? Review the PLN resources. You've been involved in doing that. Select the appropriate handbook. Access the handbook for your content. Familiarize yourself with the assessment handbook and the rubrics, the templates. Become familiar with filming and reflecting. Prepare to register on Pearson, and that is www.edtpa.com. Begin planning with your EdTPA personal teacher candidate. It's not a timeline, we use a checklist now. And attend ongoing GCU EdTPA support webinars. You will be notified by email of when these webinars will be. There are 4 study sessions that we will be doing during the course of the fall semester. Some of the material will be refresher on the things that we are doing in PAST. Others will simply be an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you have once you are involved in actually doing it. Okay. As student teaching begins, we'll talk more about this later. Make sure you have a discussion with your cooperating teacher about EdTPA. It is possible, and in some cases likely, that your cooperating teacher was certified before EdTPA and may not know a lot about it. And so you need to make sure that your cooperating teacher understands what you need to do. Obtain signed video recording permission forms. Okay, here are the clinical practice mentors. Myself and my colleague, Dr. Pickens. She will actually be back in the fall. She's on maternity leave at the moment. And so if you do need to get in touch with me, you can do it through the PLN, or this is my phone number and that is my email. You may certainly call me if you have any questions. Okay, do we have any other questions? Everybody still awake?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
All ears.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being here tonight. And as I said, this has been recorded. I will be putting it up in the PLN tomorrow for you. I will also put up the template for the lesson plan. And everybody have a good weekend. And I will see you hopefully again on Monday night.
Thank you.
Thank
For the
you.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
exciting
Bye.
episode. All right. Have a good night, all.
You too.